going on? This is your host, Sunny from the podcast It's Always Sunny in the Six. And I know today's an unusual day. Tuesday, I don't typically drop an episode, but I was away this weekend up north in Muskoka. So do excuse me for this late episode. But today, we do have a very special guest. I'm joined by the founder of Meeting Professionals Against Human Trafficking, Sandy Biback. We talk about, the rise in human trafficking and creating awareness, especially within our own circles. And most importantly, they have an event coming up next week. So Sandy came into the studio to talk about it as well, and also to shed some light on this very important issue. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy today's very informative episode. And like always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, follow the podcast on Instagram, and stay tuned because we have a lot more exciting episodes coming up in the next coming weeks. Let's get started.
Hear you really, this is weird. I'm telling you, it sounds like my sister.
It's kind of bizarre hearing your own voice, right?
Oh my God, yeah. I used to be the voice at the hotel next door that's being done.
Okay. The W, it's the...
it's going to be the W.
Right.
Okay, I worked for it when it was Radisson, before it was Marriott.
Okay.
I worked there, and I was the voice. So, push 1, push 2, push 3. I was in sales there.
Oh, no way.
And even when I left there, they kept that for about a year after. And I'd call in and I'd hear my own voice and I'd go, okay, this is creepy, man.
Yeah, it's like, I always wondered, even like the TTC voiceover.
Yeah.
Like imagine having your voice just literally being used everywhere.
I know.
Like the person whose voice is, let's say, Siri.
Yeah.
Or
Alexa or any of those.
Right?
I know.
Speaking of that, like today, I think I don't know, do you have an iPhone or?
I have an iPhone, yeah.
Okay, so today, they announced another iPhone 12.
Yeah.
Just when I thought I got a new iPhone, I'm like, yeah, I got a new iPhone.
Are you kidding? Mine's 2 years old or something. It's ancient.
Like iPhone 12. But first of all, today, everybody that's tuning in, happy Friday. It's October. Things are 2020 has been interesting as always, but it looks like we're in the midst of a second wave. But that doesn't stop this podcast from releasing episodes. And today, we have a very special guest who was introduced. We got introduced with each other by a mutual friend, Harpreet. But today, Sandy, welcome.
Thank you. I'm really enjoying being here.
How's it going?
Really good.
Yeah. What do you think about the place?
I think it's very cool. Can I move in with you? I needed a place to live for 4 months.
I mean, rents have gone down quite a bit in Toronto, so yeah, I'm sure it's insane. But so the listeners that are tuning in, me and Sandy haven't met before.
Right.
This is the first time meeting each other. Sandy knows Harpreet, who's also here. She's kind of in the background taking pictures and whatnot. So how do you guys know each other?
Harpreet was my student. In the last year, I actually taught at George Brown College when I was teaching there part-time.
Okay.
And I taught the Meetings and Conventions course from her special events program. And she was the only student who showed up every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Well, there was a couple of others, but she showed up every week. and we've stayed in touch.
Right.
And through the industry that she's now in, this, events and conferences and all of that.
Right.
She heard about what I was doing with Meeting Professionals Against Human Trafficking, and she was at one of the sessions I was at. Okay. And I kind of said, well, Harpreet, we really need somebody for social media.
Yeah, and she's perfect.
And she's perfect.
Yeah.
I kind of voluntold her. Okay. So and she's been a delight. It's been a delight to watch her and her career and her joy and her passion for our business. It really has.
That's great. That's great. So I guess so you got reacquainted. We can dive right into it. So meeting professionals against human trafficking. Yeah. Harpreet's been part of the organization for how long has it been, Harpreet? You can chime in, by the way.
I think it's been like 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
Okay. 2.5.
The organization isn't even 4 years old yet.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess, okay, what is Meeting Professionals Against Human Trafficking? For those people who don't know.
It really started as an awareness campaign.
Right.
Okay. I had seen things. I was in Cambodia a few years ago on vacation and Vietnam, and I saw stuff and I went, that just doesn't look right? So I came home and I started doing some research and stuff, and then I went, I've been inside hotels for like 30 odd years and I've seen some really weird things. And I went, that didn't look right either. So I started investigating and I learned about MPAHT, Every Child Protected Against Trafficking.
Okay.
And I realized that there was a hospitality portion of that. And
is that like a part of a contract clause?
no,
or is that an act?
MPAHT is an international organization that was
Gotcha.
founded about 32 years ago in Thailand.
Right.
And their whole thing was to stop sex tourism.
Okay.
And it's mushroomed from there. I mean, pretty much every country in the world has an MPAHT now.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some research and I went, we can do stuff in our business. As planners who bring business into hotels, as hoteliers who want to be socially conscious, we can stop this.
Yeah.
And I really discovered how much of it was happening in Toronto. And I went, oh my God.
Right.
And so I went to hold a breakfast and no hotel, and I have a lot of contacts in the hotel business.
Okay.
And they're like, oh no, we can't have you in here because you know what? We don't want people to know if it's going on or that we're involved.
Right.
So I went to a former student of mine.
Okay.
Who is, I believe she's still there, is the special events coordinator at St. James Cathedral. And sure, come on in, Sandy.
Right.
And we'd hoped to have 25 people there.
Okay.
We had about 40.
Wow.
And I thought that was a one-off. I don't think Harpreet was there. You weren't
No,
there.
I wasn't there at that point.
And I thought it's a one-off.
Right.
And we had at the time, Nunzio, who's speaking for us on November the 3rd,
Okay.
was head of human trafficking for Toronto Police.
Right.
We had, I can't remember her first name. Her last name is Richardson.
Okay.
And she manages for Ontario, the human trafficking ministry.
Right.
And we had Kevin Porter there who cleaned up his hotel. And that's actually where I'm moving to next week.
Okay.
So never forget your relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's GM. And we had Laura Scott, who's an MPP. She came in just by video because she couldn't make it.
Right.
And we had Covenant House there. And we just talked.
Okay.
We had a program in place. And it grew from there. And we did a couple of other programs, and it grew from there. And then we actually joined, ECPAT has something called the Code.
Okay.
And we joined the Code as a group.
Right.
And there's certain things we have to abide by.
Okay. And is Code an international?
Yes.
It's an international group? Okay.
Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
thecode.org. It's part of ECPAT.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay.
And we joined that, and we've done, we're at most of industry conferences and stuff in one way, shape, or another.
Right.
I've done a lot of speaking in the States up until recently.
Right.
And we've just grown. It's unbelievable. I totally can't believe it.
I bet. Like I guess like so this platform for everybody that's tuning in, it's great for me to meet people from all walks of life, but at the same time I kind of want to use this platform to raise important issues as well and get to meet people that are heavily involved in the community. And I guess in terms of numbers, because when it comes to human trafficking, how in terms of the magnitude, how bad is it in Toronto, let's say?
You got me.
Right? No, I mean,
can tell you
how, or even internationally.
Internationally,
Yeah.
at any one time, there's about 40 million people being trafficked.
Okay.
Not just sex trafficking.
Right.
And we've so far focused on sex trafficking. We're
Okay.
making a bit of a transition with our November 3rd event. But
Right.
it's like everybody, whether you work in a hotel or whether you're on the street, or I will tell you, I can almost guarantee that it's going on in your building.
Right.
Okay. I've
Right.
seen it in the building I live in.
Right.
Okay. And it's what do you look for and what do you do?
Right.
And it's understanding that you're not going to save the world. It's understanding, we've talked to some groups and they'll say, well, we threw 2 prostitutes out last night. And I'll say, how old are they?
Right.
I don't know, 14, 15. Those are not
Wow.
prostitutes. Those are girls that are being sex trafficked.
Right. And there's a big difference between prostitution and human trafficking, sex trafficking, right?
First of all, the laws are different.
Right.
In Canada, in the U.S., they're different again. Okay,
Right.
and in other parts of the world, but it's about being aware. It's about not looking away. It's about that looks funny. And in our industry, because hotels are used so much for this, it's about, okay, that girl just came in. She doesn't have a passport. She doesn't have ID. She looks really young, but she's in very mature clothing.
Right.
She's in with somebody who says he's her uncle.
Right.
I'm going to keep an eye on that.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
I'm going to talk to my director of security, because that's usually where it goes through. And hotels need to understand that. They need to know what to look for. A lot of the major hotel groups today do have policies in place
Right.
and training.
Right.
I can tell you that this training is like going online and checking A, B, or C.
Mm-hmm.
We go in and we talk to them about human beings,
Right.
and that makes a difference. That other training is great.
Right.
It's needed. It's also the culture of the hotel.
Gotcha.
I can tell you that there are hotels in the U.S. and Canada that are part of major chains that have been trained, that the profit is more important.
Of course.
Okay, so, and that's the owner, and that,
Right.
it's being aware.
Yeah.
It's about awareness. It's about, I got in the elevator and that just didn't look right.
Right.
So who can I report it to?
Yeah. I think a lot of times that, and then people, A, don't know what to look out for.
Yeah.
And B, it's like, even if they have like an inkling of a thought, they don't really necessarily know what to do.
Exactly.
So it's important to create awareness and I guess a culture in the hotel and hospitality industry where employees especially have those trigger factors and those red flags
Yeah.
in terms of what to do.
Yeah.
And then going back to when you talk about hotels and profitability, like, there was a documentary that I was watching, like, the whole pizza conspiracy and like,
Oh, yeah.
Like Jeffrey
Yeah.
Epstein and all that.
Yeah.
It gets you thinking really the magnitude
Oh,
of
it's
how
huge.
big this is and the influence and affiliations that certain people have.
Yeah.
Right. I think at a grassroots level, like you guys, like it's important to create awareness at this level, but because it's I can only imagine how big of an issue it is internationally.
Well, they say that for one person who's trafficking, and we now know that there's more females who are trafficking other females, and we think it's so they don't have to turn tricks anymore.
Right.
We don't know for sure.
Okay.
But for one trafficker, they usually have a stable, and that's what they call it, of 10 girls.
Mm-hmm.
Each girl can bring in about $250,000 a year.
Wow.
Are they going to report that income?
Right. Right.
Nope.
Yeah.
And that's how organized crime gets involved. That's how, and the other false myth is that it's girls coming in from other countries. 90% of those that are trafficked in Canada, including Toronto, are local.
Right.
They're local. You go up to Thunder Bay, there's a lot of Indigenous girls, and so that takes in a whole other issue.
Right. Yeah. There's so many articles out there and investigations going on
Yeah.
of missing women.
Yes.
Right. Indigenous women that are missing.
Yeah.
And that probably end up in some sort of trafficking circle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Sandy, how did you get yourself involved in this? Like, how? Like, I know you. Like, how long have you been in the hotel industry? First of all.
I have been probably over 40 years.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
My time here when I worked in this area,
Right.
in the hotels, the only time I ever worked in a hotel. All those other years, I either had my own company where I planned events
Okay.
and conferences, or I worked for a company that planned them.
Right.
So that's mostly my history, and I taught for years.
Okay.
At Centennial and at George Brown.
George Brown,
and online and at Conestoga and
Were you? So was that the? What are some of the courses that you taught there?
at George.
Like, I know what class were you in again, Harpreet?
Special event.
Special event
Yeah,
management. Okay.
and
okay.
the course I taught there was meetings and conventions, so very specific to planning a conference.
Right. Right.
And I've taught. It was a one-off where it was hospitality conference planning, so it was one-off as part of another hospitality program.
Okay.
But at Centennial, which was really cool, I taught in the festivals, events, and convention management program. It was a post-grad program.
Okay.
And I helped to create some of the things I taught there was industry relations, this is a result of industry relations.
Yeah.
I taught 12 weeks on sponsorship,
Right.
12 weeks on risk management, 12 weeks on basic conference planning, and probably a couple of others.
Okay.
And I taught a basic online course years ago when online was just starting
Right.
with University of Las Vegas at Nevada,
Okay.
which was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did weekend classes at Conestoga years ago where
Okay.
I would come in on Saturday and we'd work Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
And I had my own company since January the 1st, 1990.
What was that company?
It was called Imagination Plus Meeting Planners.
Okay, nice.
And it was honestly
kind of like what you're like in the event management industry, pretty much.
Yeah. It was, and I did mostly nonprofit association work,
Right.
Because that's kind of like my niche.
Okay.
And I based the name of the company on Einstein's quote: "Imagination is more important than knowledge."
Yep.
That's what I based it on.
Absolutely. That's a pretty good quote. I mean, we can kind of segue also a little bit about this year, 2020. Being like, the beginning of this quarantine, literally, this was my domain.
Yeah, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, your imagination is something that people, a lot of times, especially as adults, we kind of like distract ourselves from and be like, okay, the reality of the situation is this. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Life sucks. Can't really do anything about it. But then, bam, your imagination can take you places, right?
And the other one is Plato's from even before Einstein.
Yeah.
Necessity is necessity, what is it? Innovation. Oh God, I forget what it is now.
Plato, isn't he have the allegory of the cave as well? That was one of the.
Okay, that I don't know. Necessity.
I took philosophy in like grade 12, but so it's like.
Innovation. No, necessity.
Look it up.
Something about innovation and necessity.
Right.
Something like that, and I think that really, for me, that really pertains for right now.
I'm just looking it up right now.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Right. Yes. Which is, if you think about that, like I think when it change and sudden disruption to society, when you're so used to doing a routine, we're so used to getting up in the morning, brushing our teeth, going out to grabbing our Starbucks, going to work or going to school, and then all of a sudden you get an announcement that, hey guys, for 2 weeks, no one's allowed to get out. Yeah. Instant panic. Yeah. And then 2 weeks gets extended by 30 days, gets extended by another 30 days. And now, lo and behold, we're in October. And now we're back to another phase 2 lockdown. Yeah. This time, though, people are kind of used to it a little bit mentally, I think, adjusted to it. But there's still a little bit, like a lot of mental exhaustion.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I would agree with that 100%.
It's like, when is this over? And I was thinking about this the other day. So, yeah, I've seen people on my feed and whatnot that are like actually in Europe right now. Okay. And Italy apparently is back to normal. What? Yeah, like there's bars open. There's bars open until like 2 a.m. So they kind of, their first wave was very like pivotal and extreme.
No kidding.
Especially the numbers that they were pushing out. But then now, like, apparently things are back to normal. Like they're open. But like what's weird is in Toronto and Canada, we took so many necessary precautions, but yet cases are kind of still going up. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like it's kind of scary, like what's going on and not knowing what's happening.
But I also think some of that is the culture of Canada. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean Italians are very, they're always outside. Okay, they're affectionate. They're outside. They're yakking with their hands and stuff like that. Canadians, I think. Yeah. And not so much now because we do have a lot more immigration here, right, are much more reserved, okay? And I think that may have something to do with it. Okay. I don't know. All I know is I have a friend in Stockholm, right, who they haven't been locked down or anything, and she works for the government there, and she's so busy right now with the work she does.
Of course.
She's working 6 days a week.
Where's Stockholm?
We're in Stockholm, Sweden.
Oh, Sweden. Okay, sorry,
yeah,
Sweden.
The
Okay,
Sweden.
Yes.
And
sorry, I thought you meant in Ontario.
Oh no,
okay.
No.
Sweden, yeah. I know where Stockholm was. I know my geography.
Okay then. And she's really busy, and she said they've had no. I mean, we were FaceTiming one day, and she was on her way home from work, and she said, "I'm going to stop and get some flowers." And I went, "Oh, take me in with you, please, because I can't do that right now." So we went into the store, and she bought some flowers, and the guy held them up, and it was awesome.
Oh wow,
right?
You guys FaceTime each other? Is that what? Okay. Yeah, traveling is something I definitely miss right now. Oh. I'm like, I just want to get on a plane and get out of here, especially when it starts snowing. And gets colder. I think a lot of people are going to be faced with that challenge. On that note now, like with 2020, like hospitality has been affected quite a bit.
Hugely.
Hotels.
Yeah.
Like I think Harpy, you sent me prices in our group, right?
Yeah,
like
they were really cheap.
Like overnight rates are $49 a night.
One King West, $49.
Yeah, obviously because
at One King West.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's because they're losing money, right? And
Well, it's hard to stay open.
It's hard,
I mean,
yeah.
people don't understand what it costs to keep a hotel open.
oh yeah,
It's huge. It's really huge. I mean, even where we're going, and he's given us a really good rate because we're long-term stay.
right.
But it's devastating, and they have no conferences coming in.
No,
And-
especially when travel and hospitality go hand in hand. Hotel industry,
yeah,
right? And then,
absolutely.
I didn't realize how big corporate events were.
Oh, huge.
They're massive source of income, source of revenue.
And that's if you look back at MPAHT, that's where I started. It was okay, planner, when you're putting in a request for proposal to the hotel,
Right.
you want to know that hotel is doing something about this.
Right.
And if they're not, let's get educated.
Okay.
And that's how all this started. So the planners are coming this way, the hotels are coming this way, and ultimately we're going to do some good. And I think we are.
Right.
And we know that while they're not going to the hotels as much, they're going other places.
Right.
We also know that in some places where there are actual brothels, if the trafficker's not making any money, he just leaves the girls and goes.
Yeah. Especially in like developing countries. Like I bet like India, for example.
Oh.
Child trafficking is huge, where children go missing, and then they might get, let's say, kidnapped. They get kidnapped from, let's say, the northern part of India, and then they'll wake up in the southern part of India. There's a movie about that too.
Yeah,
Disney.
don't believe in all those movies.
Yeah.
The challenge is that they're not kidnapped.
Right.
The thing is that a lot of them are lured.
I see.
So it's like, oh, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous. And I mean, how many teenage girls, and I was one myself once,
Right.
who say, I hate myself, I'm ugly, my parents hate me, I hate my parents. And that's what they look for online,
Yeah.
the traffickers.
Right.
And they look for that, and they say, oh, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, and they start to lure them.
Okay.
So, and then that person becomes their boyfriend. Okay, a lot of the high-end malls are a good place, well, not now,
Right.
but we're a good place to lure the girls. Okay, the 3 teenage girls are sitting there, and none of them can afford to go into Canada Goose and buy something, right?
Right.
Guy comes along and he says, "Come on, I'll take you into the store."
Yeah.
That's it. And they lure
then you get
them,
hooked into
and
it,
they
and
become they become your boyfriend and all this kind of stuff, and you can still be living at home.
Right.
We know somebody, because we know a fair number of girls, women who've been trafficked and are out there now,
Right.
making names for themselves and doing good work.
Right.
And while she was being trafficked, she was still living at home and going to high school.
Oh, shit.
Okay? And so they do that, and then it's like, now I've spent all this money on you. I bought you clothes and blah, blah, blah. We've gone away for the weekend. Now I need you to do something for me.
Right.
I want you literally to have sex with my best friend. And if you say no, they've learned enough about you that they'll say, well, you're not going to do this for me? I'm going to kill your dog.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to tell your parents,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So the girl does it, and she thinks it's a one shot. And then she starts getting Johns coming in. And there are stories, and I believe them because I've heard it from the police, that they can do 12, 15 tricks a day.
Wow.
Okay? And if they don't get to sleep, they don't get food, they don't get to take a shower,
Right.
and so on and so forth. Remember, they don't get any of this money.
Right.
Okay? And so they'll start at a 5-star hotel.
Okay.
And then once they're really exhausted and gone through, that's when they start hitting them at the 1-star properties, at the 401 corridor is loaded with this stuff,
Right.
trucker stops and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And-
Is MPAHT it's an international organization, or is it just Toronto based?
Well, we're pretty much Toronto-based.
Toronto-based,
we're,
okay.
we're registered with the government across Canada.
Right,
So,
right.
but 99% of our volunteers are Toronto-based.
Right.
And we are all volunteers. Nobody gets paid for anything.
Right. And is this what you're doing full time now, or is this your full time commitment?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be retired.
Are you? You look pretty young.
I'm not as young as I look. I could be both the year. I have children older than her, and I have children older than
Oh,
you.
really? I wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah, thank you. So my oldest daughter will be 52 in January.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not as young as I look.
We were talking about this pandemic and hotels being closed and whatnot. I'm sure there's been do you see a correlation between the pandemic that we're in and child and sex trafficking that's going on?
It's gone up.
It's gone up.
It's gone up.
Oh, really? Okay.
We know that some some Johns. Remember, a lot of this is could be organized crime as well.
Right.
A lot of not the Johns, sorry, the traffickers are advertising the girls as COVID free.
Gotcha.
Whether they are or they're not, who knows, right?
Right.
And so they'll go to the person's home, the
Gotcha.
John's home.
Right.
And it's not only girls. I mean, I think it's about 75% are girls. It's also boys.
Right.
And as Nunzio told us when he came and did a session for us, a transgendered person will get more money than a 14-year-old virgin girl.
Wow.
Okay, and it's happening in downtown. I mean, my God, he told a story at this one event he did for us.
Okay.
And this is when he was still with the police. He's now with Bank of Nova Scotia, and he's involved in money laundering there.
Okay.
So, and he's actually speaking on November the 3rd about that.
Right.
But he told the story. He said, picture this. And we were in a downtown hotel.
Okay.
He said, picture this. The guy gets up in the morning, kisses his wife and his children. They all have breakfast, and he says, bye, I'm going to work. He gets in his car. He gets on his phone. He calls a number. And they say, okay. I shouldn't have said the name of the hotel, but it is that level of hotel as well.
Right.
Be there in 20 minutes, and the cost is X, and they just put it on his Visa or an e-transfer or whatever they do. He goes to the hotel, he does his 20-minute trick, and then he goes off to work.
Oh, shit. Okay. Wow. That's,
okay.
Yeah.
I sat there and I went, oh.
Wow.
Okay. And I've done a lot of research at that point.
Yeah.
So it's your lawyers, it's your magistrates, it's your doctors. And then as it gets lower down, because the girl is pretty worn out, it's your working guy. Okay.
Right. That's
so supply and demand.
Yeah, of course. And I think, so one of the main reasons that, Harpreet was mentioning when she first approached me and said, you should get Sandy on the podcast, November 3rd is an important date.
Yeah.
What's happening that day?
We are doing our very first virtual event.
Okay.
I have to tell you, I'm learning so much about this stuff.
Aren't we all with this whole remote working?
And I have to give a really big shout out to Robert Thompson of AV Canada.
Okay.
Because they are, yes.
Shout out to Robert.
Yes. Shout out to Robert. He is providing us with the platform.
Okay.
He has been our AV guy since the very beginning at no charge.
Right.
Okay, so they've been
That's amazing.
Awesome,
yeah.
It is amazing. It's amazing. So what we're doing is it's called Blurred Lines, Sex Trafficking, Supply Chains. Follow the money.
Right.
Okay. And we have Nunzio coming about the follow the money.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about supply chains, and that's another side of trafficking. Is about like who's picking the cotton that's making the uniforms for the hotel.
Right.
And then we have a panel, Tamara Cherry, who has been a crime writer for about 10 years in Toronto, the Globe, a whole bunch of the Sun and all of that.
Okay.
Do you remember the name of her book? She has a book out where she did a compilation of survivors, and she wrote about their story.
Okay.
And with her is Ronelle Bruner,
right.
who has survived trafficking, and she has a nonprofit group called Project I Rise.
Okay.
That she works with traffickers, and they're going to finish, and they're also the third one.
Right.
And then we have a musical interlude, and then just a natural conversation. We're going to do some breakouts too, I think.
Okay.
And
do people have to register, or
yes,
is it a ticketed event?
It is a ticketed event.
Okay.
Harpreet is getting this out tomorrow, we hope. It's Eventbrite, and it's pay what you can, because we know our industry is really in trouble.
Right.
But we want people there from outside of our industry as well.
Of course.
And we we have association with groups in the UK, in the US, in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping for some of them. And we've just made some new contacts in India. So we're hoping, because it's virtual, we can have more.
Right.
The first 10 people that register will get an e-copy of Tamara's book.
Okay.
And that's the program. And I'm just going to show up and do my thing, I hope.
Well, I'll definitely include the link when this podcast comes out. And,
awesome.
For anybody that's interested, definitely you can, I'll include the MPAHT account on Instagram as well. Everything going virtual has kind of been interesting. It's kind of been kind of nice because it's given you an audience that's a lot more wider now and global, right? Like, I had the other day, I had one of my buddies who's a fitness trainer, and he was just like, he has the ability now to virtually train clients from LA, from
My
New
fitness
York.
trainer just did that. She just did 10 days.
Okay.
I was not a part of that. That's
Okay.
not my thing.
Right.
But she just did 10 days like that every day online, and she had people from all over the world as well.
Yeah, that's like I mean this year's been it's had its downs, but it's also had quite a bit of silver linings.
Yes.
There's had quite a bit of realizations for people in terms of what's important to them.
Oh yeah.
And especially the older we get, what are we trying to accomplish with our lives? What are certain values that we want to cherish, and also the type of energy we want to emit and the type of people we want to surround ourselves with.
Yeah.
And I think this platform, so like meeting people like you, Sandy, has been great for me because it's brought my awareness up. So you've done your job today.
Awesome.
But also I hope my listeners out there have a thorough understanding of that this is a real issue.
Yes. It is.
And we probably only just touched maybe like barely.
Well, and I think the important thing to get out of all of this is for people who don't think it's happening, and I suspect, I don't know where your market is, predominantly Toronto, I think.
It's a mix of Toronto, and we have quite a bit of U.S. listeners, surprisingly.
Well, it is happening in our backyard,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really how we started. This is in our backyard, and yes, we can do something about it. Lots we can do just by being aware.
Right.
And there's I don't have that one either. I have it in my phone.
What?
The 800 number that you can call in Canada.
Okay.
Anywhere.
Let me see. Do you have it or?
Thank you. Oh, I have my glasses on too. How about that?
And sorry, this 1-800 number is for?
It's an 800 number that anybody can call in Canada.
Okay.
If you're in trouble, or if you think someone else is in trouble.
Right.
It's the Canadian hotline. Canadian Human Trafficking Hotline. It's 1-833 900 1010. And there's also a text, and there's also, you can text or whatever you want to do.
Right.
It's the Canadian Human Trafficking Hotline.
Gotcha. A couple months ago, before the pandemic, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, there was a rally that happened at Nathan Phillips Square. One of these guys I know, Zark Fatah, I think I talked to you about him, right? Yeah. Sarpreet? He was pretty heavily involved in that. And it was I'm not sure what the organization was called, but they had quite a bit of turnout. Come out, did a huge rally to create awareness. I think
awesome. People
underestimate the importance of just educating yourselves and being aware.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think that you don't not necessarily contribution is great, being involved is great, but I think also being aware is probably one of the most important things for us to grasp.
And that's what we've tried to do.
We have issues here happening in the developed countries, but in developing countries are probably the markets there are probably they don't really necessarily have the representation sometimes as well.
No, and
right?
it's a little different. I mean, you look at
like Thailand, for example,
or teenage marriages.
Right.
Okay, that's
a big problem in India.
It's a big problem in India. But what did I just see today? They raised the age of consent from 12 to 14 somewhere in the world. Okay. I mean, even a 14-year-old girl
That's that's still mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I still think about that. And I think that for any guy, you must be sick in the mind a little bit. I just can't wrap my head around, and that's why I always think of this as a very especially when it comes to child trafficking. I just don't understand what a person is thinking to even go down that route. But the reality is the reality at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you see how big it is, with Jeffrey Epstein. And
oh my God! Don't
whole,
even get me started.
It was insane to see how many political people are possibly involved in that situation, right?
Yeah.
And how long it's been going for.
Oh, it's been going on for years and years.
Decades.
Yeah. And the thing is that it's in every country.
Right.
It's not predominantly Canada or the US, but it is.
Right.
And they say, well, it's in poor parts of the city. Well, that's not always true.
Right.
I mean, if they're using 5-star hotels.
Of course, yeah. Did you hear about how they used the word pizza to affiliate to describe the type of child and the type of person? That's what the Pizzagate is called, right? Do you know about this?
Which one?
The Pizzagate conspiracy?
Okay, I haven't heard of
this
that.
is familiar, but
Yeah, it was they were talking about that through the Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, that's
the
possible.
Fiosca, that they
Yeah.
used the word pizza to as a synonym for children, right? But it's messed up. It's pretty. It's mind-boggling and crazy.
There's also a lot of myths out there that need to
Right.
be debunked.
Right.
And that's what a lot of, the governments are doing. I mean, that's not where we come from.
Right.
We don't have that kind of scope
Yeah.
or, whatever.
There was a big myth that got debunked, that I debunked on this podcast a couple of weeks ago. Wayfarer.
Yeah, I know.
For those people who don't know, there was this article circulating saying that Wayfarer, the furniture is actually the names of certain missing children, and it's like a couch going for $13,000 is actually the price of a child.
Yeah.
And they used the couch or sofa as like a front. That was debunked. I forgot what I read maybe a couple of weeks after that it wasn't true. But you can imagine all the information that gets falsely circulated, and you're like, well, it's not really far-fetched. It's possible.
Of course it is.
Right.
And I mean, the other thing is all the stuff on the dark web, which I very careful not to get anywhere near there. But I mean, if you're a John and you're looking and pornography is a whole other issue.
Right.
And that's taking over more and more with COVID.
Right.
And we know that there are kids as young as, I've heard stories of 18-month-old kids being pornographically used on, where you can buy half an hour or whatever.
Well,
And
the TPS Toronto Police has been like, there's so many busts that's been happening on CP24, even like as recent as August, actually, there was something that happened.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think that these are people that we walk amongst sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, having said that, I think that, the event's happening on November 3rd. We'll definitely include information for that.
Awesome.
I think the people that are tuning in that know you, Sandy, maybe want to get to know you a little bit more. I have something called a Sunshine Round.
Okay.
What the Sunshine Round is it's a number of different questions. It's a speed round of questions.
Yeah.
Try to answer them as quick as possible.
Okay.
And let's go.
Okay.
If you're stuck in an island and you could have one food for the rest of your life, what would that food be?
Lobster.
Okay. Who is your favorite superhero and why?
My favorite superhero right now?
Yeah.
What's her name? Michelle Obama.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
That's a good answer. Are you watching Netflix?
No.
No? Okay. What do you do for fun? What's your hobby?
I'm a photographer.
No way.
Yeah.
Do you have a photography Instagram handle or?
No, I used to years ago, but no. And
Gotcha.
and in this move right now, taking down all the photos I've taken of our trips, I went to my husband. I went, I'm a goddamn good photographer.
We'll talk about that as well because I'm curious to see where you went, where you traveled. So, are you a morning or night person?
Morning.
Okay. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Aggressive. Oh my God. Aggressive, laughter, and pain.
Describe heartbeat in 1 word.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Good one.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh God. Wipe out human trafficking in the world.
That's a great answer. And then last but not least, what is your least favorite beverage?
Probably milk.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Funny enough, this is going to sound lame, but I'm doing a 12-day detox.
Oh.
So I'm not drinking for 12 days, by the way.
Oh, you're not?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm doing so no alcohol, no dairy.
Yep.
It's more of a cleanse.
Yep.
Just to clean out your gut and stuff.
Yep.
So I'm just giving it a shot, see how I feel. But yeah, Sandy, you were mentioning you're moving.
Yep.
Are you moving within Toronto or are you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that been like? How was that move like?
So we're moving out of a condo in the distillery.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
And we're moving into a condo in Leslieville. The condo in Leslieville won't be ready until February.
Right.
However, we really want to get our place up on the market because our goal is please to sell it before Christmas.
Right.
So we're moving into a hotel.
Okay.
The guy's given us, Kevin has given us it's awesome, 2 TVs. I mean, we only have 1 in our house now, right?
That's a big plus.
Oh yeah, it is. And they'll take my dog. And a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, it's really kind of him.
Right.
And so this staging stuff, I know it's a really booming business, but it's driving us crazy.
How so?
Well, I just think, and a few people have said this lately, people don't have imagination.
Right.
Okay, so if I walked into your place right now, I could see, okay, I would do something different here.
Okay.
I would do something different there. But you're not staying with your stuff,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So we're in the middle of painting bland white, where we've had yellow and blue walls.
Okay.
The stagers coming in, so we're moving out.
I've always wondered, when a stager comes in, what happens to your existing furniture?
It's gone.
Do they take it?
No.
You have to sell it, or?
No. We have a storage locker.
Okay.
And we actually decided a long time ago we were going to get rid of some of our furniture, so
Right.
that went to a very good home.
Okay.
I have a friend of mine who's within the Tibet industry, within the Tibet community. So
Okay.
if she can't use it, and I do know that she's going to use some of it, it will go within her community, and I'm fine with that.
That's dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, this couch right here is a really beat down couch. I'm trying to get rid of it, but someone had mentioned I'm going to actually donate that to like a shelter or something.
Perfect.
I've actually, I don't know if Harper mentioned this, but I've been involved in a bit of community service myself. Every winter we do like a winter coat drive
Cool.
called Bundle Up Toronto.
Okay.
Wow, it's already October.
Oh, wow.
December's around the corner. We collect jackets pretty much. It used to be before gently worn, but because of COVID, we're probably going to now have to change this strategy a little bit and kind of partner up with retail businesses and whatnot and get like excess inventory. But I've worked with Cobden House. So Cobden House, we would donate to them. St. Felix Center over in Kensington.
Yep.
I think community service is being involved in any sort of community service or giving back to the community in whatever way you can is a pretty humbling experience.
Yes, it is.
It kind of reminds you that, it's great that we make money in our 9-to-5s or creative pursuits and whatnot, but, there's a different level of satisfaction that you get.
Yes.
When you do something that's giving back to someone else.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
And I'm hoping this year with COVID, I know things are going to be changing a little bit, but if anybody's interested, by the way, hit me up. Looking to expand the team. But having said that, Sandy, it's been a pleasure having you on this podcast.
Thank you so much.
Any final words for our listeners out there that are tuning in?
If you see something, say something. If you're wrong, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're right, you can save a life.
Gotcha. There you go, people. Sandy, and for the event, by the way, for anybody that's interested, definitely check out the event. There's no capacity, like it's just a simple, is it on Zoom or is it on? Okay.
It's on. Robert has told us that the platform will hold 55,000 people.
Wow. Okay.
So we should be so lucky.
Right. No, absolutely. So, I definitely wish you guys best of luck in terms of the event itself. It's the first virtual event, so I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But it's not going to stop from there. Then on to the next one. But it's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Sonny.
It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and we'll keep in touch. And of course, Harpy, I see her every other day, so she'll unfortunately. But everybody else, guys, hope you guys have a great weekend. It's October. Enjoy it while you can. Get out on all those hikes. And Halloween. Pumpkin carving. Ciao. Peace out.
Awesome.